Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick with the Notorious Fantasy. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my must-own running backs for fantasy football in 2021. Inside of today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 running backs that, based upon current average draft position, I feel like are very good values in your draft and are guys that I want to be drafting come draft time in August or early September. So if you guys do end up enjoying this video and you are new, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first guy that I want to be talking about today was one of my guys last year, one of the guys that I was touting heavily, a guy that I was going to bat for week in and week out, and due to injury, it definitely did not end up working out. But I think in 2021, based upon the climate of the team, based upon how I feel that this team will do in 2021, I love Austin Ekeler, running back of the Los Angeles Chargers, currently a second-round pick based upon current underdog ADP at pick 14.1. Now, last season in 10 games, Austin Ekeler finished as running back 26 in PPR, 29.5 PPR, and running back 35 in standard, averaging 16.5 PPR points per game, 13.8 half PPR points per game, and 11.1 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, he was running back 11 in PPR, 14.5 PPR, and running back number 21 in standard, tied with Kenyon Drake, Melvin Gordon, and DeAndre Swift. Now, going into last year, the reason why I liked Austin Ekeler so much was because of the previous season. When you looked at the splits with Melvin Gordon in the game versus Melvin Gordon out of the game, when Melvin Gordon missed all that time because he was kind of like playing around trying to get a new contract, obviously that didn't end up working. In 2019, Austin Ekeler was absolutely going ham-bony on the defenses. He was just catching the ball so many times, and it didn't even frankly matter how many touches the guy ended up getting. Now, looking at it from the 2021 season, you can basically see the exact same potential. You can see a guy that could potentially catch the ball for 1,000 receiving yards. You can literally see that happening, and I can also see him getting 1,000 rushing yards. Who is going to compete with Austin Ekeler in this backfield? The answer is no one. Sure, other running backs will be getting touches in this backfield. That's clear. In every single backfield, other running backs get the ball. Sure, Austin Ekeler isn't necessarily a workhorse running back, but what he is a 3-down running back. He is a guy that is good in both facets of the game. He is both electrifyingly fast and agile in the rushing game, as well as a guy with silky smooth hands who is going to be able to get the ball in his hands and make things happen. Now, starting off the 2020 NFL season, things were looking down tremendous for Austin Ekeler. He was looking like this may be the worst pick that I have ever told anyone to draft ever. Tyrod Taylor just does the bird box challenge. He fucking closes his eyes and has no idea how to dump the ball off to the right or to the left, where Austin Ekeler is standing and will inevitably go 30 yards with the ball based strictly upon his skill set. But Tyrod Taylor was not seeing that. He was not giving him the ball. They were not able to really run the ball. The LA Chargers offense was limp dick. But in week number 2, after Tyrod Taylor got hit with the 1-2 stabberoo by his doctor, and then obviously it was Justin Herbert's season, and that guy, I talked about him in a video, I think yesterday or the day before, how this guy just completely beat down every single expectation me and everyone else had for him. Justin Herbert took everyone calling him a bust, and he put a chip on his shoulder, and he beat down these defenses. And with Austin Ekeler in the lineup with Justin Herbert, things were looking pretty solid. So looking at his stats from last season, he had a grand total of 530 rushing yards on 116 carries. And obviously 116 carries is not a lot, but I do believe now with a new head coach not named Anthony Lynn and with a better offensive line, things are going to look even better for Austin Ekeler. He also had 65 targets for 54 receptions, ranking 8th highest at the running back position in targets and 5th highest in receptions, for a grand total of 403 receiving yards, 5th highest at running back. And again, this is in just 10 games. He missed 6 games last season, also scoring a total of 3 total touchdowns. His catch rate was very high as well, 83.1%, 5th highest at the running back position. So Austin Ekeler is clearly a player that is very versatile inside of an offense that I think is going to be very good. Again, they addressed the offensive line. They got rid of a head coach who, frankly, in my opinion, has no idea how to be a head coach. And Justin Herbert has the potential to step up and play even better. Last year, he played very fucking good. He was the rookie of the year, which obviously means that he played very well. but there's also the potential that maybe even if he gets slightly worse, if I'm being honest with you, maybe he doesn't play as good, just based upon the fact that Ekeler would be healthy would mean that he would have a very high chance of finishing super high. And when you're looking to draft a guy in fantasy that you believe will be a top 5 running back, you're looking for a guy that is both able to catch the ball as well as rush the ball with great efficiency, and in my opinion, that is what Austin Ekeler does perfectly. He could be a guy like Christian McCaffrey, who rushes for 1,000 yards and gets 1,000 receiving yards. Now, am I saying that's 100% going to happen? No, but when you're trying to think about all the running backs in the NFL, Austin Ekeler is one of those guys that could actually do that, and with Herbert and Ekeler together, I genuinely just believe this offense is going to be potent. They're going to be moving the ball very effectively, and I think that Austin Ekeler is going to be surprising a lot of people in 2021, as a lot of people are maybe looking to fade away from him because they kind of screwed him over, or Austin Ekeler necessarily screwed them over last year. But don't listen to those sheep. Go ahead and follow along the Austin Ekeler train. Next running back here, another guy with excellent hands, a guy who going into the NFL draft, this team saw him as potentially a wide receiver for their team going into training camp. He was in the rooms with the running backs. He's in the wide receiver room, and his name is Antonio. I almost just said, and his name is Austin Ekeler, as if we didn't just talk about him. And his name is Antonio Gibson, running back of the Washington football team. In 14 games last year, Mr. Gibson finished as running back 13 in PPR, 12 in half PPR, and running back 14 in standard, averaging 14.4 PPR points per game, 13.2 half PPR points per game, and 11.9 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, he was running back number 18 in PPR, 16 in half PPR, tied with Ezekiel Elliott, and running back 15 in standard, tied with Miles Sanders. Now, this offense, in my opinion, has gotten a lot better throughout the offseason. They end up bringing in wide receiver Curtis Samuel of the Carolina Panthers. But Nick, Curtis Samuel is like a wide receiver 3, you fucking idiot. Obviously, he's not the best wide receiver, but he's a super speedy wide receiver. And in reality, in Washington last year, it was Terry McLaurin and a bunch of guys named Sims, who just frankly were not very good, and Logan Thomas. So I think that this helps out the offense a lot. And they went from a quarterback in Dwayne Trashcan Haskins. Sure, Alex Smith played pretty good. It's amazing that the guy was able to go out there and even fucking play based upon the injury that happened to him a couple of years ago. But at the end of the day, Alex Smith wasn't the Alex Smith of the Chiefs from a bunch of years ago, right? That's just not what he was. Still crazy that he was able to play, but he's not that good. But now they bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, I understand a lot of people have varying opinions, I should say, of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Some people think that Ryan Fitzpatrick is an awesome guy. Some people think Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to suck. And week in, week out, it's kind of a mix of them both. You're going to see Ryan Fitzmagic. You're going to also see games where the guy completely breaks down and has no idea what he's doing. He looks like he's never played an NFL game again, even though he's been in the league with Frank Gore for 7,000 years. But, I think that this helps out the offense a whole ton for a running back with the speed of Antonio Gibson, a 4.39 40-yard dash from college. Now, last year, Antonio Gibson was given 170 carries, 18th highest at the running back position, for 44 targets as well, with 36 receptions, 795 rushing yards, 18th highest at running back, and 247 receiving yards, 24th highest at running back, for a grand total of, drumroll please, 11 total tugs last year, 7th highest at the running back position. So even in an offense that I would say wasn't the best in the NFL, obviously wasn't the best, with all these quarterback changes, all of this, Antonio Gibson is still putting up big boy numbers. And I think the potential of him finishing as a top 10 running back is relatively high based upon the fact that he is looked at as a second round pick based upon current ADP, going as pick 19.9. So basically pick 20 towards the end of the second round. Now, obviously, Antonio Gibson going into his rookie year was genuinely given no shot, right? Going into the year, you're thinking this guy is not going to do anything. Adrian Peterson's ahead of him. Darius Geis, fuck that guy, is ahead of him. They have J.D. McKissick. They have Peyton Barber. They have all these guys. So Gibson's going to be screwed till like 8 weeks into the season. That's what I thought. I thought it was going to take a while. And then the boy out of Memphis ends up getting this playing time because of all the shit that happens. Peterson's gone. Darius Geis is a piece of shit, so he's gone. And then Gibson plays very well. I think that Antonio Gibson is going to be seeing a lot of work in this offense. Some people will be worried about J.D. McKissick. I think McKissick also has a lot of value in fantasy, especially if Gibson was to go down, knock on wood. But I do think this sophomore running back does have a lot of value going into 2021 drafts based upon where he is going, with the upside that I could see him easily being a top 10 running back, especially if the Washington football team offense takes that next step up. And also, you can just think about the fact that who was Christian Christian McCaffrey's head coach when he's been so good. Riverboat, Ron Rivera, who's the head coach of the Washington football team. So I'm liking Gibson going into 2021. I just see a lot of potential for upside in his game. Next running back up here, we got another rookie running back who was a rookie running back, I guess. Now he's sophomore running back, a guy that I touted pretty highly going into last season. One of my favorite running backs in the 2020 NFL draft, J.K. just kidding, Dobbins, running back of the Baltimore Ravens, current ADP on Underdog 28.4. So we're kind of going in order throughout the whole draft in the players that are coming off of my must-own running back list, starting at the beginning of the draft, going down till the end of the draft. Now, J.K. Dobbins out of the Ohio State University is in what I would describe as the best offense for running the football. The Ravens last year led the NFL in rushing percentage with a 55.04% rushing percentage last season, which is obviously very high. Now, I understand that Lamar Jackson does get touches in that backfield, and he is going to go ahead and make guys miss and play quite well, but that even adds more value to J.K. Dobbins because you never know when he's handing it off if he's just going to hold it and try to take it to the house, or if he's going to hand it off to Mr. J.K. Dobbins. Now, going into last year, J.K. Dobbins was in a threesome of a backfield, a three-way of running back fuckery. Mark Ingram, Gus Bus Edwards, and J.K. Dobbins. And Mr. Dobbins was basically the three in this offense for a while because Mark Ingram was coming off of a amazing 2019 campaign. But I was telling everyone to fade him because it's J.K. Dobbins season, and that's exactly what was happening down the stretch of the 2021 NFL season. The 2020 NFL season, J.K. Dobbins was seeing a whole lot of touches in a very high rushing offense, which is going to bode very well for fantasy football. In 15 games last year, J.K. Dobbins finished as running back 24 in PPR, 21.5 PPR, and running back 17 in standard, averaging 11.2 PPR points per game, 10.6 half PPR points per game, and 10 standard points per game. From a points per game perspective, Mr. Dobbins was running back 33 in PPR, 30.5 PPR, and 28 in standard, tied with James Conner. Now, again, those numbers are fugazi, because in reality, J.K. Dobbins was not getting as much playing time early on in the season. He was kind of just sitting there, chilling out. Week 1, he kind of balls out, but then from weeks 2 till 6, really from weeks 2 until week 10 or week 11, he really isn't doing anything. Starting in week 11 up against Tennessee is when we start seeing J.K. Dobbins get a whole lot of rushing kind of touches. You know, he's actually getting the fucking ball in the offense, and he starts finishing as like a top 15-ish running back week in and week out. On the season, J.K. Dobbins had 134 carries with 24 targets, 18 receptions, 805 rushing yards, and 120 receiving yards for 9 total touchdowns. Now, going into the NFL draft, I thought that J.K. Dobbins was going to be a guy that was going to get a whole lot of volume in the receiving game due to how good he looked at the Ohio State University when getting the ball dumped off to him or thrown to him. People were comparing him to potentially Alvin Kamara going into the draft. So where are the targets, Mr. J.K. Dobbins? I think that that's due to a lot of Gus Edwards getting the targets and Mark Ingram getting the targets early on in the season. But to me, J.K. Dobbins has fully solidified himself as the running back 1 in this offense. Again, I still think that Gus Edwards has a lot of value in drafts. Why? Because when you can get a running back super late in the draft, that does have potential to be getting work week in and week out. And if the starting running back ends up getting hurt, then you have a fucking concoction of sugar, spice, and everything nice, like whatever that fucking the Powerpuff Girls or something, okay? J.K. Dobbins is going to step up even further than what we saw last season, especially with a well-defined, well-etched-out role in this Baltimore Ravens offense. I expect the Ravens to be pretty solid yet again and going to be able to be up in a lot of games where they're going to be able to run the ball gently down the stream. Merrily, life is but a dream at the end of the game. So I think that Dobbins here is going to be a guy that I'm going to put my must-own stamp on in 2021. If you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And if you're not new, make sure to hit that like button. Very nice. I like. So next running back here of my Miami Dolphins, but that's not really why I like him. I just like him because I think that he also has a very well-defined role in this offense. That's running back Myles Gaskin, running back of the Miami Dolphins. Underdog ADP 49.9 plus 28.78. It's gone skyrocket to the moon. Based upon the last couple of weeks. Going into the NFL draft this year, I'm thinking, man, while I like Gaskin, I would love to have a guy like Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne, or Najee Harris on my football team. I would just love it. It would make me so happy because I think that those guys are really good. But we don't end up drafting them, right? The Denver Broncos end up trading up, saying, skirt, and they just go right past the Dolphins. The Dolphins are like one pick behind them. Boom, they snag Javonte Williams, which sucks for the Dolphins because the Dolphins wanted him. That's what came out. But hey, it's Myles Gaskin season again. Myles Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed. Now, going into the 2020 NFL season, we were having a debate that would come out to be probably a all-time dumb debate. It's like Alan Lazard versus Marquez Valdes-Scantling every year for the Packers. It was Howard versus Matt Breida. I'm like, you know what? It's Matt Breida time. I love Matt Breida. Jordan Howard plays like shit, doesn't really do anything. He's just like a bowling ball. He just scores a touchdown like every couple of weeks, and that's all you get from him. And that was true. But Breida didn't really do anything. And then out of nowhere came Myles Gaskin, guy I never heard of. We drafted him in the 7th round in 2020, but I never heard of him. But he's very good. Him and Salvon Ahmed are the 1-2 punch of the backfield of the Miami Dolphins, and Myles Gaskin has etched out a role as the main guy in that offense. In 10 games, he finishes running back 28 PPR, 27 in half PPR, and running back 27 in standard, averaging 16.4 PPR points per game, 14.4 half PPR points per game, 12.3 standard points per game, meaning from a points per game perspective, he was running back 13 in PPR, 12 in half PPR, and 14 in standard. Those points per game stats should tell you a lot. The guy didn't play very many games, but when he was the starter, when he was the guy for the Miami Dolphins, he was very effective. That is because the Dolphins offense was working very well last season, whether it was with Ryan Fitzpatrick or with Tua Tagovailoa. Now, the offensive line was kind of spotty, in my opinion. In my opinion, last year, as a Dolphins fan, I watch every single game. I'm seeing this guy getting the rock, and I'm like, you know what? This isn't the greatest of offensive lines. But we draft more players to the offensive line. The guys are going to get older. They were a very young crew. Majority rookies on this offensive line. Now it's going to be sophomores and rookies, majority on this offensive line. And I think they're going to continue to develop. But for this season, I think that Myles Gaskin, just like with all the running backs that I like, is going to be very good. Except for the last guy. This last guy I want to talk about, this dude has no idea how to catch the ball. No idea how to catch the ball. He literally never catches the ball. But that's kind of just because of the offense he's in. But Myles Gaskin, he can catch the ball. 47 targets last season for 44 receptions, a grand total of 388 receiving yards, 7th highest at running back, also tacking on 142 carries for 584 rushing yards. Without Myles Gaskin, the Dolphins don't slay up the Las Vegas Raiders on an attempt to make the playoffs, but of course we got butt-fucked by the Buffalo Bills. This Dolphins team, in my opinion, is going to be better. Even better in 2021. Tua is going to be better. Now, again, I'm not trying to give any bias because I genuinely believe that Gaskin is going to be good. I'll tell you right now, last season, I hated Devontae Parker, and guess what? He wasn't very good. So there's really no kind of bias from my end when it comes to Dolphins players. Frankly, I try not to put any bias into it. So I hope you guys understand that. Even though I'm wearing a Dolphins shirt, pretty much most of my clothes are Dolphins t-shirts because they're just my favorite team, and I like the color. I think I look good in blue. Matches my eyes, you know? So with Gaskin, I don't see Ahmed really getting much work. Seems like the role is very defined for him. They didn't really add a running back in the draft. Obviously, they drafted a guy in like the 6th, 7th round of the draft, but that shouldn't really scare you. So I think that Gaskin is going to be the guy for 2021. And I think that if this Dolphins offense is able to kind of move the ball even better than last year, then Gaskin could be even better. And again, in fantasy, you're looking for a running back that can catch the ball. As we're looking at, most leagues, half PPR or full PPR. Even in standard leagues, you want your guy to be catching the ball, and that is what Gaskin does so well. And with the coaching scheme there from Brian Flores, I think that Gaskin is a very big steal in the middle rounds of your 2021 fantasy football drafts. Final running back to talk about here. Now, I will give full credit to Nick Ercolano, who was talking about him in a video a couple days ago, and it made me start to think about this. Now, I wasn't really all aboard the Damien Harris train. I was last year. I was touting him very heavily going into the draft, and he worked out pretty well, right? He wasn't necessarily a super flashy running back, but week in, week out, when he was actually given the touches, he was very safe. But the issue with Damien Harris, currently coming off the board as pick 85.1, so a very late round pick when you're thinking about being super late round for a guy that's literally like the starter on the team, right? They didn't draft anyone. They didn't bring anyone in. It seems like Sony Michel's days are numbered. So Damien Harris is going to have a lot of potential in the 2021 season, kind of like what we saw going into the 2020 NFL season. Obviously, last year he was a rookie in 10 games, finished as running back 53 in PPR, 15.5 PPR, and running back 44 in standard, averaging 9.1 PPR points per game, 8.9 half PPR points per game, and 8.6 standard points per game. Why do we see such a low deviation between the PPR, half PPR, and standard? It's because the guy doesn't catch the ball. Does not catch the ball. In 10 games, he had 5 targets last year. From a points per game perspective, he was running back 39 in PPR, tied with Wayne Gallman, Latavius Murray, and Jamal Williams, running back 36.5 PPR and running back 33 in standard. He had 137 total carries on the season. Again, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 52 receiving yards, 691 rushing yards, and 2 total touchdowns. So if you think that this Patriots offense is going to look better in 2021, which I would think, you just have to think that, right? Whether it's Cam, whether it's Mac Jones, the weapons there are just so much better. And I think that last year, I don't know what happened, frankly, with the Patriots, because at the beginning of the year, Cam Newton literally was getting MVP votes. Now, not necessarily, you can't actually vote right then, right? So he's not actually getting votes, but the people are talking about Cam Newton, potentially MVP of the 2020 NFL season. Week 1, Week 2, Week 3, Week 4, he's butt-fucking these teams. He's playing good against Seattle. He destroys the Dolphins. He's playing so well, and then magically, he just skirt right off the edge of a cliff. He frankly plays like shit down the stretch of the season. After he got COVID, maybe that was it. He was just bad. He was bad. And the Patriots were bad. But they retooled, they reworked, they rethought everything, and now they're coming with some vengeance. Typically, they're a playoff team. Last year, they were nowhere near the playoffs. Nowhere near the playoffs. So you got to think that the offense will be better. You got to think that Damien Harris potentially getting more carries will be good. But my biggest worry with him, again, is that he does not get any targets. Now, is it that he's not capable of catching the ball? I don't know, because in college at Alabama, where he played, he wasn't really getting the ball. And I apologize for saying he was a rookie last year, because he wasn't. He just didn't get any playing time in 2019. So 2020 was really the first year he got the ball. So I apologize to any of you Damien Harris truthers who are going to be firing on all cylinders because they didn't watch through. They just said, Nick, you dumb motherfucker. Why did you say that? So in college, 4 targets. His freshman year, 4 catches, 14 catches, 2016, 12 catches in 2017, 22 catches in 2018. So it seems like he has good hands, right? He's not really dropping the ball. He's catching most of his targets. It just seems like he's just never given the opportunity to catch the ball. So maybe Damien Harris, we see an awakening. But then again, they have Rex Burkhead. They have James White. So they don't really need to be throwing the ball to Damien Harris. So let me know down below what you guys think about all of these guys. Do you like Ekeler, Gibson, Dobbins, Gaskin, Harris? Do you hate them all? What do you think about the video? I hope you guys did end up enjoying. We are out of focus right now. I apologize. Hopefully back in focus, but I do love you guys all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Make sure to stay safe. Happy, what is today? Monday. Tomorrow is Tuesday, and the club is going up on a Tuesday. Make sure you guys check out the video from earlier today where I talked about where the fuck is Julio Jones going to be playing, because the Dallas Cowboys said, Dikembe, no, we do not want you. Or no, Julio said, we don't want you, Dallas, even though he was caught wearing a Dallas shirt, caught in 4K imagery, wearing that jersey, or not jersey, it was like a Dallas Cowboys shirt. So we will see. We shall see. I love you guys all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Stay safe. As always, good boy.